Next, we'll be talking about the CTE Federal Program Monitoring Interviews. This may not include everybody, uh, because if you remember back at the schedule of teachers, you need 4 to 8. You want to get 1 per program area. This is kind of up to the building of which teachers will be there representing for the interviews. The building administrators or ILs should be working with you to determine which of you will be involved in the interview process. But I still think it's good to have the interview questions on hand, just so you know, and can answer them if they come into a classroom to interview, or not to interview, but um, if some of these questions may come up while they're doing their walkthroughs. So the first one, teacher interview questions, as you can see here, this is what we're going to spend most of our time on. I'll show the other ones as well during this portion. But this is course content and material. How do you keep your current course content? How do you keep current course content and materials? Answers here could include things like the advisory boards, going to summer conference, just different PD, even just staying up with different colleagues or even current events. Competencies, you can say how you describe how your course competencies are used for planning lessons and units of studies and projects, of course. They are the driving force behind all CTE courses, so you definitely should be able to answer that easily. Competency records, how do you maintain, record and maintain the student competency records? And that could include how you determine the students' what they are receiving as far as their ratings. It could include where you keep them, and you can even touch on the portion what we're trying to do this year as we're trying to move to a digital version of the online competency ratings in the Google Classroom. How they're provided to the students and how long they're stored. I keep them for at least up to 5 years as the CTE Central Office, and so not quite sure how long you keep them at your building level there, but I have access to the drive folder that we had and or the paper copies that you said that you would share with us there. This Career and Technical Student Organization affiliation, that you can answer based off of your school there. And if you are in the middle of starting one or planning on starting CTSOs, you can include that in there. We want to be transparent on this and include if we're working with extended learning to kind of ramp up some of the career and technical student organizations. And then how do you incorporate co-curricular instructional activities to your respective CTO in your instructional program? Everybody, that's part of the core competencies, is addressing the career and technical student organizations. So that should be something that you are covering in your courses there. And you can say whether it's in PowerPoint, whether you actually incorporate the competitions into your classes, etc. Collaborate. Does your CTE class ever work collaboratively with any of the core teachers or students on a lesson, unit of study, or project? Of course, everybody does this within their project-based learning. And you can include specific examples and recent examples or just examples of what you're planning on doing, and that's all okay. Work-based learning opportunities. This was based off of the work-based learning guide, but some of our definitions that we do within Hampton City Schools aren't necessarily aligned with the work-based learning opportunities within the definitions within the work-based learning new guide. So even if you aren't necessarily considering what you're doing, share the things that you're doing that are closely related or what you believe to be work-based learning. This is just something that I'm looking to kind of improve anyway, but it's something I think that we're doing a great job of, just not necessarily in the same definitions of what Virginia Department of Education are describing as their work-based learning. But the experiential learning that the students have and are exposed to is very powerful here and something that we can be proud of. Special populations. Describe how the needs of students who are identified as CTE special populations are addressed in their classes, and you can see them down here. Within our area, to be honest with you, a lot of what we are doing, we do for all of our students. And that's just kind of part of our demographic makeup here in Hampton City Schools. But just if you have include the following the IEPs and the 504s and just the things that you do like with your English language learners. If you have anything that highlights any of these things specifically, please share it, because this I feel like is one of the things that we do very great within Hampton City Schools, but of course there's always room for improvement, but it's something that I think that we should share what we do to work with the CTE special populations. Safety procedures that are required for your course and how students show their understanding for procedures. This includes their OSHA training, their training for using the equipment, etc., and just making sure that they are ready to go before entering the labs with the kind of hazardous safety or equipment areas. Professional development. The professional development opportunities that you participated in the past 2 years that are related to your content area. This can include webinars. This can include things that we do in-house. This can include your summer professional conferences. Feel free to share what you've done. And recommendations, what can be done to improve what we've offered here. And I think you all can answer recommendations and highlights fairly easily yourself. Just so you can see what the questions are, we won't spend too much time on these. You can look at them more thoroughly. The counselors, they talk about the academic career plan and career advising. Within the academic career plan, we can talk about Success 101 as well. Same way with the work-based learning and what you guys, or what I covered under the teacher interview question. The CTE course offerings, we have the programs of study, we have a powerful website, all of the different things around the academies of Hampton within the CTE courses can kind of show us and let the counselors know what they're doing. Same thing with the special populations as well. The principal interview questions, if your administration comes to you asking some of the things, they just have a little bit about what the school demographics are, the academic career plan as well. Determine the course offerings. Much of this was done up front when we were standing up the academies of Hampton, but looking at the labor market data, the competencies, how did they, what processes are used to ensure that the teachers are using the essential state competencies and maintaining the student competency records. Endorsements, professional development, teacher retention as well. They talk about career switchers, special populations, also again with work-based learning, and recommendations and highlights as well. The student interview questions, once again, you are also, the building is responsible for determining which students are going to be interviewed, and ideally we want to have students that are well represented, that represent the demographic of the school, and also that are coming from the different program areas. You can just pull these straight from some of the ambassadors as well. But as I'd said before, the students, you can familiarize them with with the questions, but I don't think you necessarily need to go over and answer them for them, or just let them know what they're going to be asked. And if they just make sure that they understand what CTE stands for, it's Career and Technical Education, and what kind of courses it is. If you just go and look at it, costs, they shouldn't really be, we shouldn't be charging for the cost. That was something that went into policy a while ago. Same thing with the work-based learning across the board. They'll ask about the safety. Do you feel safe? Are there any rules posted? Did you have a safety test? and some of the precautions that you required to take the lab. They'll ask about their CTSOs, so if you can get some members of the FBLA or the DECA, etc., that's great to have them, some of the students in there. And then they just will ask them about the career and technical education courses compared to their core classes, what supports. They'll ask them about the competencies and different certifications, and then also they'll be asked to share recommendations and highlights as well. So once again, with the interviews, not every teacher will be on the interview panel. Um, Counselors, they only need like a couple of counselors on the interview panel. Principal might be the executive principal and the CTE principals. It's really up to the buildings to decide who's doing those interviews, and same way with the student interviews. And the teachers in the you know your students best, which ones will be able to answer the questions honestly and without being without trying to be jokesters, and which ones that are comfortable talking to adults there too. So if you have any questions on that, please just let me know when I come to do the on-site check-throughs after that.